sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
I grew up in church all my life. You know, it's a good thing, obviously, but it can also be detrimental. So my parents love the Lord, and you know, they definitely modeled a good Christian example. But you know, I never, as a child, really fell in love with the Lord. And I viewed the Christian faith as just a list of do's and don'ts, just rules and regulations, traditions and stipulations. Rules without relationship always equals rebellion. When I was 12 years old, I decided that I wanted to do what I wanted to do, and I smoked marijuana for the first time. Shortly after that, I began drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, popping pills, you know, and everything that comes with that. You know, the drug addiction comes, you know, the times getting arrested, the weeks and the months spent in jail. By the time I was 17 years old, I was a full-blown cocaine addict. Ecstasy was another drug that I took on a regular basis. And you know, when I was 17, man, I just found myself doing things I never thought I would do and going places I never wanted to go, all to support this habit. And I'll never forget, it all came to a head whenever I was arrested for my involvement in an armed robbery. And I was charged with robbery with a dangerous weapon as well as second-degree kidnapping. And it was at this point in my life where I realized, man, I've really made a mess, and there is no fixing this situation. I'd been in and out of jail multiple times, on and off probation, house arrest. I'd been kicked out of school from 8th grade all the way till my senior year. And my lawyer basically told me, he said, you're gonna serve 10 years in prison. And he actually told me, and I think you deserve to serve this time. And he closed the file on me. And I thought my life was over. As simple as that. But standing in that courtroom that day, the judge looked at me, pointed his finger at me, and he said, young man, I don't know what it is about you, but I'm gonna give you a chance I've never given anybody. And he sent me to a program called Teen Challenge. And I went to this program thinking that I would just play the game, you know. I've been in church all my life, I knew how to play that game. And, but man, I got there, and the God of my youth wrecked my life. He got a hold of me. And it was in 2 weeks of being in this program that the God I had tried to serve and live for as a child, through rules and regulations, he was the God that revealed himself not just as a lawgiver, but he revealed himself to me as a father. And a father who loved his son and had a plan for this broken mess of a life that I had kind of built over the years. And I remember praying, you know, I asked God, I said, Lord, if what they're saying is true, if you can really take this mess that I've made of my life, and if you could use it for your glory, then I'm done. I'm tired. I surrender. I give up. And it was January 2004 that I prayed that prayer, and he changed my life. One thing about the Teen Challenge program that, you know, that they really drilled into every student was that this issue is deeper than your addiction, you know. It's more than the drugs. It's more than the alcohol. Like, that's just the tip of the iceberg, you know. The true issue is that you're living a life, or trying to live a life, that is not surrendered to the Lordship of Jesus. I believe that in that moment, man, realizing that this is not, I'm not here for my drug addiction. I'm not here just to get clean. I'm here because I need a Savior. You know, I need something more than just to be clean. I need someone to give me a clean slate. I need my life to have purpose.
The waves obey him. The mountains bow down and praise him. So kings please throw down the crowns and raise him high. He's the rock of ages, Judas Lion.
I always loved rap music, always loved hip hop music, man. I grew up in the 90s. I'm an 80s baby, but I grew up in the 90s, and the 90s were like the golden era of hip hop. But when I got saved, when I was in Teen Challenge, you know, I had such a radical conversion that I wanted to rid myself of everything that correlated, you know, with or to my old man and my old nature. And for me, hip hop was a big thing, you know, that I used to love and enjoy. I'll never forget, it was in the 9th month of being in this program. There's a guy named Big Vic. Big Vic was about 6 foot 10 inches tall. He had been in prison like 20 years of his life. He'd been shot, stabbed, and but he had been radically saved, and he had a prophetic anointing on his life. And he walked up to everyone. Big Vic was a little scary. He walked up to me one day, looked down at me, and he said, simple thing. He just basically said, "Your gift is not your own." And I looked at him like, okay. I had no idea what that even meant, but I was like, all right, whatever. And then later on that night, I was in my bunk, and one of the students was like, "Hey man, check this out. This is crazy." And it was a pair of headphones. I was like, "What is that?" It's like, "It's some Christian rap." I was like, "Man, I don't want to hear that." And he's like, "No, listen to it. It's really good." And so I put the headphones on, and it was a song by the artist of The Truth, and the song was called L-O-V-E. It was a song about God's love. And I remember laying in my bunk that night with those headphones on, listening to the song as he talked about God's love. And dude, in that moment, I just felt the Spirit of God just come in that room, man, and just overwhelm my heart. And I began weeping and just crying and crying and crying in my bunk, just crying and crying. And it was in that moment that I realized, man, you know, if God can change a black, filthy, wretched heart like mine and break the chains of addiction and sin off my life, if he can redeem a lost soul, then redeeming a genre of music is nothing. And I realized then in that moment, man, God can use anything. God can use anything to bring glory to himself. And so, dude, the very next morning, dude, I went and got a notepad and a pen, man, and I was back writing raps.
Man, it's so depressing when the button is pressed in. The television's awakened to shake the false perception that everything is cool when really it's not. Just turn on the news. Where do we start?
I remember, as a kid, there was a girl that I grew up with all my life, and we actually went to the same church, and we would go like behind the church on Wednesday nights when our parents weren't around. We'd like kiss and then run. And we were always best friends growing up, and we so-called dated, when we were 9 and 10 years old. And this young lady saw me go through this, tragic journey. When that addiction takes over your life, you find that those same friends that you used to run with, that used to think you were the life of the party, they slowly begin to disappear, and you're left alone. And I remember at the peak of my addiction, man, sitting on my front porch on house arrest, and those friends would return my calls. No one was there to be found. But there was this one young lady, man, she would come visit me. She would call sometimes like, "Hey, I'm gonna come over and see you. You need anything?" And I'd be like, "Bring me some cigarettes." She would hate to have to do that, but she would do it, just being a friend. And I remember, the nights that I would spend in jail, and they would call me over to the visiting center to tell me I had a visitor, and I would sit down. And then on the other side of that glass window, this young lady would come and sit on the other side, and she'd just sit there. She'd just look at me. She'd just look at me and not say a word. It'd be kind of awkward for a while, and she would just point at me and say, "You're a man of God." She would say, "There's greatness on the inside of you. God has a plan for your life. He has a purpose for you, Kervin." And she spoke life into a dead, barren soul. And, she loved me when I was unlovable. And, truth be told, she was actually the only Jesus that I knew at that time. And she was the only Bible that I would read when everyone had deserted me, this young lady was faithful to continue to pour life and speak life into me. And, you know, when I went to Teen Challenge, she was the last person I spent that last day with. And she saw me the day before. I weighed 110 pounds. I was a mess. I was snorting coke the entire day. And she was just kind of dealing with it, just bearing it and grinning. But a year later, after being in this program, I graduated. I got reunited with this young lady I saw her for the first time in a year, and you know, I had gained probably 35, 40 pounds, and had been consecrated to the Lord, and I saw her, and she was looking good. I said, you know what, I think you need to be my wife. And she was crazy enough to say I do, and so she married me, man. And we've been married now for 7.5 years. And we have 2 children. Her name's Candace, love of my life. You're so good at what?
No, I'm so busy.
You're so busy with what?
Worshiping and cup stacking.
With worshiping and cup stacking? You hear her?
Yeah.
She said I'm busy with worshiping and cup stacking.
Yeah,
Dude, I'm serious. I've been trying to do this cup stacking thing. I just can't get it to work.
my cups and then are your cups.
Right here.
No, Legend, don't put that in cup stacking.
It's all right.
We get our praise on in the Brewington house. My kids are worshipers, man. They love to. They throw on their little Hillsong Kids DVD, man, and they get busy. They wear us out sometimes. You know, they'll just go all night. My daughter, she's 3.5. Her name is Lyric, and our son is 1.5. His name is Legend, and he is living up to his name. Let me tell you. He's always getting into something and destroying stuff. Our lives are not centered around ministry. You know, they may tell you that that's the way you're supposed to do it, but you know, for the Brewington household, man, our lives are centered around raising up children who love God, who know how to love people. I want my kids to understand who God is and have a deep understanding of His love. So I feel that, you know, if we understand the depth of God's love for us, then you know, as we grow older and mature in our faith, that we will find it easier to surrender our wills to God because we understand that He, you know, has our best intentions at heart. You know, I'm on the road a lot. I'm on the road just about every weekend, so when I'm home, I try to be home. It's not always easy to put the phone down, put the emails, you know, aside. Man, it's, you know, it's something that I have to fight to do. But it's worth it. You know, there's nothing like spending that time with your children. You can't get that time back, and so I try to, you know, when I'm home, I try to be home and just love on my kids and be daddy, not the rapper, not the preacher, not the superstar, but just daddy, you know, because that's what they need. Good job, baby. I'm proud of you. That was so good. That was so good, baby. To think, man, 10 years ago I was a drug addict, man, and now, you know, there are thousands of teenagers and young people who hang on my every word, man, you know, through social media and all that. It's a huge responsibility. 5 albums later, a little bit of success later, you know, one would think, man, good, that's great, good for you, you know. But truth be told, man, that's not enough for me. All those things are good. But, you know, I feel that God has my wife and I. He has us at a point in our lives and in our personal ministry where He's really taken us back to the simplicity of the gospel.
So what I want you to do tonight is 2 things. 3 things, actually. Somebody say 3 things. 3 things. I want you to begin praying consistently for a team of leaders that God has brought together with the campaign that we started called Death to Chains. This campaign is an endeavor to raise awareness amongst teenagers and young adults about the issue of human trafficking and also to raise money to build safe homes, to bring shelter and discipleship to those who have been rescued. That's some powerful stuff, right?
We've started a campaign called Death to Chains. Death to Chains is an endeavor to raise awareness and to raise money to fight the issue of human and sex trafficking, utilizing music, cinema, art, and all things creative. And it's an exciting season for us. You know, it's a tough season because we're kind of going against the grain of what strategists would tell you to do. You don't put your career on the line, you know, with crazy stuff like this. But for us, it's more than a cause, it's more than a trend. It's an issue that breaks the heart of God. And I feel that He's called me and my wife and our amazing team to do something about it.
For every soul that is trapped in slavery and bondage, Lord, Lord, as your sons and daughters, we cry out tonight. We ask you for freedom, for justice, for death to the chains of slavery.
It's kind of strange that we've had the success that we've had over the past 8 years. My wife and I have the freedom to function as we desire within the confines of accountability. Then, you know, being under the authority of my pastor and my local church. Dude, it's easy as ministers to stand on a stage, to preach, to rap, to sing, to perform, whatever. It's easy to do that and to see hundreds and even thousands of people respond and lift their hands and give their lives to the Lord, or pat you on the back, or say, man, that was a great message, it changed my life. It's so easy to hear that and to see that and to think as a minister of the gospel that you've done your job. But the truth is, as a minister in center stage ministry, whether it's leading worship, singing, rapping, there's a lot of perks that come with that. I want to know that I'm impacting lives when I walk off stage. I believe that's the true challenge for the center stage minister, you know, to really look at yourself in the mirror and evaluate, you know, am I impacting lives? Am I making disciples when I step off the stage? Is my impact and my influence strictly limited to just what I do and say on stage? For more information on Curvin Ministries, you can check out my website at curvinmusic.com. My music is also available on iTunes and anywhere else online music is sold. You can also find more information on the Death to Chains campaign by visiting the site at deathtochains.com. I encourage you to stop by the sites, become subscribers on our mailing list, and let's be friends. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you. Take care.
Losing my mind, need to find it. Whether he's dead or not, you know he said that right. Was gonna move from the tomb, boom, ready or not. Stop! You really need to breathe. I told you to leave this thing to me. I'm the grave, I'm death, I'm the pits of hell. I'm eternal damnation, the screams and yells. I'm eternal separation from a king who's real. The generation's invitation through a teen's rebellion. So this Jesus is stuck with me. He ain't going anywhere. I got the keys.